Hello and welcome back to my channel. It is Crystal one-on-one time and we are at the Carnival Gardens in Naguru. So beautiful, so green, so peaceful. Today I am chatting with, let me see, a social media manager, a feminist, and also a teacher. Pesh Ahumuza joins me on Crystal One-on-One. Hello.
Hello, Crystal. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay.
Thank you for taking the time.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah?
A bit nervous, but yeah.
It's just me. I don't bite. I don't bite. Thank you for joining me. How are
Thank
you
you.
doing?
I am okay. I'm really okay.
You're
Yeah,
good?
I'm good.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
I said social media management, but I know you're into content creation
Yeah.
and you're a digital influencer. You have been zipping around Uganda the last few weeks. I've just been like, where? She's here, she's there. What have you been up to?
So, yes, I am a social media. I'm into so much social media management, and that entails creating content for these platforms, and also doing customer care online. A couple of things on social media, but I also use my platforms as an influencer because I do have kind of a bit of a good following there. So I use my platforms for that. And the last few weeks I was traveling. I went to Semuliki National Park. I went to Lake Albert. I went to Chibale. Oh my God, chimpanzee tracking is exhausting. It is really exhausting. And it was my first time, and the whole time I was thinking, do I really have to be doing this? Do I really have to be until we found the chimpanzees, and it was a wholesome experience at the end of the day. Exhausting but wholesome. And then we went to Katonga,
Okay.
it's a wildlife reserve, and then we went to Lake Mburo National Park.
Wow.
I think it was a good experience from the whole walking for 12 kilometers and being in forests and whatnot. I'm used to cocktails and pools and bikinis.
it was a
not this
different
exactly. It
experience.
was a completely different experience for me, but it was also really wholesome. I learned so much from that. Yeah.
Now, the one thing I know is when people start to travel around Uganda, it's like they start and then they can't stop.
Yeah.
And also, it's like the final realization that we have. I mean, hello.
I see you.
But also, we have like such a beautiful country.
It is.
What are the things that like stood
It
out for you?
is. I love water. I mean, still, even if I'm not on a swimming pool, I still go back to the water. And I think I could live on Lake Mburo
Really?
forever. It is so calm. It is so soothing. That is what I want. It's so far away from the noise. Okay, there is no network, so I don't have Twitter. That is a bit of a trick.
We need a Twitter.
I need my Twitter, but it is a good experience to be out there in the silence. No Kampala dust, no Kampala borders. You know, when you're sitting in a border in Kampala, it's like you put your life in the hands of the border next to you and the guy driving behind you. So it is a crazy life in Kampala. When you go back there, when you go to Fort, it is quiet. Life is slow. It's like 10 times slower than it could be anywhere else. So I really loved Lake Mburo.
Okay.
It was a really, really, really good experience for me. I think I would have loved Lake Albert, but I'm not a birding fan.
Oh,
so
yes.
it's mostly
it's
for
bird
people
life.
who bird life, yeah. And so if you want birding, definitely go to Lake Albert. Personally, I liked Lake Mburo. It's quiet, and the hippos trying to chase you to kill you.
That is not true.
That is not true. That is not true. That is not true.
Trying to kill you.
No, it's just my imagination. I've watched enough horror movies to like.
I was at Lake Mburo National Park recently.
Yeah.
We also took the boat cruise. And then, when they open,
Exactly.
you're just like, oh my God,
I'm
this
going
thing
to
is
die.
a monster.
I'm going
Are we
to die.
safe in this boat?
Yeah, but the noise kind of keeps them away, the noise of a motorboat. So yeah, it's a
But
safe
they're also
thing.
just so graceful at the same time. They're so big,
Hippos,
but so
graceful.
in the water. In the water. They
Yeah,
are.
maybe that. Yeah, they're not that aggressive.
Okay, so
yeah.
patience. So now we've talked about your side as a content creator, and I know that you start a lot of trends on Twitter. You've been doing that for a while, and you've caught a lot of attention for that.
Yeah.
Did you ever see yourself becoming this vocal as a feminist and online? Were you like that
Yeah.
growing up?
Um, yes, I did see myself becoming that, but not when I was a child, of course. When I grew up and started getting into these spaces, the feminine spaces, I realized that I had to be vocal about these things. I've always been vocal about things that I want. And if I demand my rights, and that is not something I'm going to sit and argue about with anyone, I'm going to be vocal, because then there are other women who need to be taught. I am still learning, but there are also other women who have to be taught. And I have a big platform. And there is someone out there using that big platform to shame women. So what am I doing with my big platform? So yes, I've seen myself, I've strategized for that, to actually be vocal, to be a vocal feminist online, to use, because that is the only platform that I have. I'm not going to go on TV or radio and be able to use that platform. Very many people have that access. I do not. This is the only access I have, and I have to continuously use it, because every other day there's that one woman who is going to learn something from you. Every other day. So for me, it's something that I saw myself doing. It's something that I'm really happy that it's actually taking shape for me. And it is, now I've gone away from the whole, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, like my hands are all over the, no, now I'm focusing on, you're a feminist, it's social media marketing, yeah, and that is it for you. So like, I feel like I've figured out what I want. Yeah.
And that's the biggest challenge. You're like kind of doing this, doing that, doing the other,
Exactly.
until you begin to say, okay, this is where my strengths are. This is what I'm going to use my platforms for.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're figuring out that journey.
It is really hard to figure that out, because when you're a digital influencer, you constantly have different businesses in different markets coming to you to support them online. But then you can't sell everything. You really can't sell everything.
Thank you. And
You
whatever
can't
it
sell
is
everything.
you do or attach yourself to should be genuine.
Exactly. So if I come to you and I'm selling a salon to you, yay, my nails are cute. They're always cute. I'm always talking about my nails looking cute. So definitely it would make sense. If I come tomorrow and I'm selling to you what? A betting company? That would be very weird.
Okay.
Because I don't know the first thing about football apart from the ball and 11 men running. Is it 11 or 22?
She just picked a number.
Exactly. So I don't know the first thing. So I kind of realized where my strengths are, and I'm focusing on that. I know I am a feminist, and I'm learning, because it's a constant process of learning, relearning, and unlearning. But I'm also really good at selling certain businesses online, so I'm focusing on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the little Pesh, because most people know you as Pesh.
Yeah.
Were you called Pesh at home? Where were you born?
No, I was called Patience. So I was raised by a single mom,
Okay.
and my mom named me Pesh Ahumuza,
Okay.
but my dad named me Crispa.
Crispa.
Yeah,
Okay.
Crispa Hambere. So I really
Imagine coming home to a vacation each day, to a place of pure serenity, a place of pure luxury for you to entertain and unwind. At Jakana Heights, dreams come true. Take your pick from spacious 1, 2, or 3 bedroom apartments and luxurious 4-bedroom penthouses, built to international standards with fine, exceptional finishing. Located on Konge Hill, Buziga, with incredible views and a fresh breeze from the nearby Lake Victoria. It's a place for your body, soul, and mind, with a wide array of amenities. Contact us for more information. Jakana Heights, luxury hilltop living.
my mom named me Patience Ahumuza,
Okay.
but my dad named me Crispa.
Crispa.
Yeah,
Okay.
Crispa Hambere. So I really rarely use that name. Hambere is a family name.
Okay.
This is that I never use it because when you're brought up by a single mom, it's very hard sometimes to identify with the other side of the family, the dad side of the family. So yes, it's a nice name. It means wicked. I don't know what that man was thinking.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Okay.
But but maybe I do have some wicked thoughts sometimes. So maybe there is that.
No, you're not alone.
I
We all
know,
do
I
that.
know. So, anyways, I was raised by a single mom, and she has the two of us. But as an only child for a while, and my dad wasn't there. But then he passed on when I was in P7, and do I sometimes think he might have changed and been better and been there for me? Yes. I think I was angry at him for a very long time until I recently had a conversation with my little sister. And she opened up about how good he was to her. So
Oh.
my dad had other kids. And for me, that was a consolation of like, oh, at least he was good to one of us. That was, so like, of late, I have that feeling of, he wasn't that bad. Yeah, he had his shortcomings, but at least he was there for one of us instead of just leaving all of us. So there's that consolation of at least he was good
was
to
there
her.
for her.
Exactly. That I'm holding on to that and kind of letting go of all the hatred, because that hatred kind of like keeps you down at one
Yes.
point. Yeah.
It really does. It holds you back in
Yeah.
so many ways.
Yeah.
I think that's a learning curve for so many of us. How we see our parents, how we view our parents, even our relationship with our parents. Because we only know what we know
Exactly.
firsthand. And then
Exactly.
as you get older, you begin to also understand how life can be tricky, and then
Yeah.
how other people related to our parents, how they see them. So it's always like an evolving story.
Yeah,
But I'm
it
sorry
is.
that you didn't have that relationship with your father. Did you have a father figure in your life?
No, I did not. I did
Okay.
not at all. My mom was the dad and the mom.
Dad, the
She's
mom.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
and now it's kind of like I'm taking over that at home. So I'm kind of
Okay.
like becoming of like, because you kind of grow up and you start, okay, this is the thing. I realized after my Form 6, I realized that I had to take up responsibility at home. And now I feel like I've become like a dad and mom in a certain way, because you have all these responsibilities. And in a basic African home, that is dad and mom responsibilities, not you. So I feel like we become a parent at one point, and then we pick up those tiny, tiny bits that we probably don't even like, and you become them. So yeah, I think I've become my mother along the way.
In many ways. Are you
Along
very
the
close
way.
with your mom?
Yes, I am. I think she calls me like, she's about to call me. She calls me like 10 times a day. And she'll tell me about something. Oh, the neighbor has done this. Oh, do you remember the man who carried you when you're 3 months old? No, I don't.
No.
But we are very close. We're very close. We do fight. I mean, daughters and mothers fight every time. I want to think that. So that is partly why I do not stay at home. Mom,
Okay.
please forgive me if
'Cause
you're
you-
listening to this.
You clash.
But yeah, we clash a lot. But I love her so much, and I would do anything for her. I mean, I hustle to make sure things get in line for her. So yeah, I do love her so much. When we're close, but from that distance.
Don't worry, you're not alone. Many people have
Yeah,
that relationship.
yeah.
Because sometimes it's also just about our personalities. Sometimes personalities gel perfectly, and sometimes you just end up clashing, and it's also because you're very similar as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
So-
that's true.
So
That's
that
true.
happens.
That's
Okay, so
true.
where did you go to school?
So I studied at Buhinga Primary School in Fort from primary to primary 3. Then I went to Kansanga Parent School. That school,
Uh-huh. What?
it had one building and the rest is made out of timber.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kansanga Parent School.
Kansanga. I don't even know if it's still there.
Okay.
That is how bad it was. So like every time I remember it, I'm like, oh my God, I've come from so far, because you know when you're in these gatherings and you have your friends who are going to these fancy schools, and then they ask you, where did you go? Where is your school? And you're like, friend, I do not even know if it still exists. So I went to that school for primary 4 to P7, and then I went to Central College Mitiana from my Form 1 to Form 4. So after Form 4, I was a crazy child.
Oh.
So I told my mother that I didn't want to go back to that school, yet I had a bursary. I know, I didn't
Okay.
want to go back to that school. I just didn't want it.
You didn't like
So I
it?
came up with a story. I can't tell you because you'll judge me.
To tell us, you cannot just go. I came up with a story, but
I came up with a story. I came up with a story. Okay, the truth is that I told her that there's a teacher who was harassing me, which was a lie.
Oh,
Which was a
wow.
lie. And my mother has been protective of me. So she was like, you know what? I'm taking you to a different school. So I chose a different school that was paying about 500,000, and I was leaving the school for a bursary. Then I go to this school, Kawanda Secondary School, and I failed miserably. Completely failed. I nearly repeated that class. And my mom was like, oh, you think you're smart? She took me back to that school. That was her punishment for me.
Oh, good.
So she took me back to that school. I feel like my peak adolescence got there in Form 5. I was so bad.
This is for you, a touch of class with a dash of glam. This is for those who choose to make a lasting impression with their first impression. This is for his cut, her crown, and the spark in their eyes. They know a little extra is the new normal. Those who turn heads without a heads up. Step into the Glam Icon Salon and unleash the glam in you. Plot 49A Naguru Drive, Kampala, a few meters across the Surgery Hospital, Naguru.
Form 5, I was so bad. I was so stubborn. I escaped from school.
Oh, so you
I
look
broke-
back now and you're like, what was I up to?
There's a time I wanted to go out to watch Conscience. I think Conscience, I had a crush. I had the longest crush on Conscience for like forever. And I was an information prefect, and I had like used up all my pass outs to go home. So what did I do? I broke my glasses. These things are so expensive. I just got a stone and broke my glasses. And of course they
they give you a pass,
exactly.
you can go home.
But I also still wanted to know the whole thrill of jumping over a school fence.
Okay.
Exactly. So I have my pass out in my bag, but I'm going to wait till evening so that we can jump over with the other kids who do not have a pass out.
What, living life on the edge?
Exactly. That was insane. So sometimes when I
But
look
you see,
back,
you had a backup plan. You're like, in case anything happens.
At what cost?
Well, but you said you
there
had
is
your
a
pass.
single mother out there hustling, and
Yeah.
what am I doing?
I
Sometimes
think we
when I
need to
look
sit
back,
down
I'm
with your
like,
mom and hear
"Please
about these
do-
stories.
don't." She's so tired of me. She's like, she's so tired of me. So every time I look back, I'm like, yeah, we're not having kids. We can't do this because you're going to have another you who is probably worse, and you cannot go through what your mother wants because you're not as patient as she is. But anyways, I was a mad child.
Okay.
So after Form
When you
6...
say you're a mad child, was it you had issues with authority? You wanted to do things your own way? You were outspoken?
Yeah, I was very outspoken. That's one. I had been an only child for a very long time. So my brother is 17 now. He's in senior 4, and I'm 25. So you can see that age gap. And even when I wasn't alone at home with cousins, I was still the only girl at home most of the time. So I kind of got away with a couple of things. Yeah, I got whooped, but yeah, there was also that time when I got away with things. And the other thing was as smart as in one way, because I wasn't the girl who is playing with dolls and those whole cooking things. No, I still don't like cooking. I've never liked it. But I used to read a lot. So I was exposed to so many things as a child. I would read newspapers, I would read novels, I would read books because I was bored. I didn't have anyone to play with.
yourself.
And I also, even when there were kids, you'd still leave me at home and find me at home because I have newspapers and I have my books.
Okay.
Yeah, so I kind of got exposed to so many things as a child, and I feel like that kind of impacted my adolescence because I had so many opinions. And as a child, especially a girl, oh my God, why do you have all these opinions? Why are you questioning authority? There is this first time I had my period. I don't know if we can talk about this.
Yeah, sure.
So I was in Form 3 and I had really bad cramps. I was at Central College Mitana, and I missed the class because the nurse refused to give me meds. That happens a lot in those schools because nurses are really tough. So she refused to give me painkillers, and I was in so much pain. So I apparently was also in the literature class. So the director was the teacher of literature. He comes to class and he's looking for me, and I'm not there. And they call us. We're in the dormitory. They call us and they start beating up people, and I refuse. I tell them, you're not going to beat me up. So they're like, either you get a suspension or we beat you up. I had never been suspended. As much as stubborn in school, I'd never been suspended as that stubborn kid, but who is friends with the teachers, that kind of thing.
So you could always explain your way out of everything.
Exactly, as a smartass. So this teacher is like, you cannot use period as an excuse to not go to class. This is a male teacher telling me that. It means like, women come here and teach even when they're under period. So in my head when I was young back then, I used to think when you get kids, you stop feeling calm. So I'm like, those people have children.
Oh.
Why are you comparing to them? And so I had all these ideas about women's bodies and whatnot. So I was really, really strong, and I stood my ground. So they suspended me and I went back home. My mom didn't talk to me for that week that I was suspended. So I knew when we got back to school, she's going to kill me because she had done it before. But when she got to school, she was on my side. So this guy comes out and is like, hey, your daughter missed class, blah, blah, blah. It's like, but you've never had a period. How do you know how she was feeling? And
You're like, she's got my back. In public.
Exactly, in public. Because I knew she was going to, she did talk to me for a whole week. She was torturing me, and then when we get to school, she's on my side. So I was a very stubborn child in that sense of I was big-headed, and I knew what I wanted, and I would go for it really hard.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so after high school, I went to Makerere University, and I studied there for 3 years, but I didn't complete. I kind of dropped out because of some personal reasons. Yeah, that's it. I've done courses, online courses here and there, but I'm planning to go back to school because I do owe my parents that. Yes,
That
I
degree.
do. I do owe them that, but I also need it for my communications work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a teacher. Is that what you were doing at Makerere?
Yes, that's
You're
what I was
doing
doing.
education.
I did it so I joined in 2014, and my former director at Central College Metiana called me back to teach.
Oh.
So I started teaching in my first year.
Right. So you were at uni.
I think I was like 19 years old. I was so skinny. I had no way I could actually be an authority in front of these kids. So I went back to teach English and literature, and
How was that?
wow, that was one. The money is really little. It's very little. I can't go back.
And you were teaching high school.
Yes, I was teaching high school, the school where I'd studied. So
Okay.
these kids knew me. So I go back and I had, I think, short hair. So I looked like a little boy, like one of them. I hadn't gained weight, I hadn't become all this that I have become. So at first when I went back and I had short hair, the director was like, at least get a wig. Yeah, like,
Okay.
how are you going to
look like a
start?
baby.
Exactly. Because one of the things that I was going to teach was the general paper. And you're teaching this Form 6, it's a school up country, yeah? Has very many students. Some of those students have kids at home because it was day and boarding.
Oh.
You know those kinds of schools. It was a private school, but it kind of had that vibe of, you know, when you go to a UPE kind of school, exactly. So you find, I remember there's a student who was, I think, 23 years old, who's a proper Salon at home. I am just 25 right now. You get my point? So he was way older, taller, with a full beard. He comes and stands next close to you, and you're like, oh my God. But they kind of like protected us in the school because if you are a young teacher, then when a student does something wrong, they get a heavier punishment when they do something wrong to you.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll rely mostly on the older teachers to punish them because I can't cane a student.
Okay.
And those schools kind of run on the cane. So,
So how are
for
you
me,
balancing the two?
how was
You're
it?
teaching and then you're also...
No, at first I wasn't doing the school.
Yes.
It was really hard, and I think it kind of also affected my not finishing because you have to prioritize one over the other. And I kind of got sucked into the teaching because it is really demanding. You have over 500 papers to mark. That is a lot of pressure on someone who hasn't figured out. I feel like I shouldn't have taught. I shouldn't have
Yeah, you were
worked
too
during that
young, you're
period
not ready.
because I wasn't ready mentally. There was teaching, but also there was partying. And I have just gotten my freedom because I left home, I think, when I was 19. And I went to hostel and I was paying for myself. So you can imagine that kind of freedom from a very controlling mother who is church and home and market and home, that kind of thing. So I go out there and I'm exposed to alcohol and all those things. So I failed to kind of like strike the balance between school, teaching, and partying.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that affected me a lot. At one point, so I taught for 4 years from 2014 to 2018.
4 years?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I did. And along the way, that's when I joined social media marketing. So I think I first worked with Round Bob, and then I left that. In 2018, I was working with a Square, the Square place.
Yeah.
And I would go to Mitiana on Friday morning, teach from morning to, let's say, 3. Then from 3, I'm on a taxi back to Kampala. At 5 p.m., I'm in Kampala preparing to go for an event at 7.
Okay.
And that event is probably going to end at 3 a.m. It was insane. It
Okay.
was insane until after that, like 2018 was ending. I was like, I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to focus on this one thing because I feel like it's going to bring me more money. And also, I have a lot of potential in it. I can always go back to teaching when I have made enough money that
Okay.
I can afford to actually
you had
teach.
to choose.
Exactly. So I had to choose at one point, and I chose social media marketing over
4 years is
teaching.
a long time.
It is, but it is a good experience on my CV. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you started working with these advertising agencies, marketing agencies, and that's how you got into it.
Yeah. So a gentleman called Peter kind of told me, you have these platforms and they're big. Why don't you use them to make money? Yeah, so he introduced me to social media marketing, and that's how I started. To be honest, I haven't gone to school to study social media marketing. It's been a constant learning process for me. Like, how do I do this? You can't tell a client that you do not know unless that thing is not on Google. And there is nothing on social media marketing that is not on Google. So I have, the moment a client tells me something, Google it,
Yeah, like, yeah,
YouTube,
let me figure it
learn.
out.
Exactly. I can figure it out. And when I fail, then I'll come and tell you I do not know.
Okay.
So that has been my process of keep learning. Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of also the best way. I mean, you can always go to school and get a certificate.
Yeah.
But being hands-on
It is very important.
is
It is very, very
important too.
important.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. So, when did you start the UOT marketplace, the Ugandans on Twitter marketplace?
UOT Marketplace started last year in November.
Oh, so it was last year.
Yeah, so November is my birth month. I'm born on 16th November, so you owe me a gift this year. Hey,
16th
I've told you.
Okay.
But I'm messing with you. So last year, the universe was really kind to me in so many ways. I did lose a big contract because of COVID, because the person the Gates Foundation pulled out from the project that I was working on. They stopped funding it, COVID still. And I had to figure out how to start my own business and all that. And people online were so supportive. Like, people would retweet my content, people would buy from me, people would share these things with their friends. It was really, really, really a good experience for me when I started my shop. It's called Essentials. So I sell those oil, perfumes, and jewelry. And people were really supportive of me. And I'm like, why don't I give back to these people? I have a platform and people pay me to market their things.
Yeah.
But I can do one day and give back to these small businesses because they can use it. And it's COVID. So people are making a lot of deliveries, online businesses and whatnot. They need that support. So in my head, I thought it was going to be for a week or just for the month of November, and that's it. Then it has grown into a big thing for me that sometimes I'm like, am I actually going to pull this off? Because it was just supposed to be a small hashtag when I'm Mandy and you guys tweet your things and I retweet. But now I've created a Twitter account, UT Marketplace. I have created a Facebook group. I'm still trying to figure it out. Right now I'm working on branding and whatnot and registration. I